限界はね、もう毎日ひたひたと感じてますよ。
It's become a bit of a meme at this point how cynical and depressed Hayao Miyazaki, the founder and leading creative force behind Studio Ghibli, can come across in interviews and documentaries. He's famously been misquoted as saying anime was a mistake, a statement that makes up for its inaccuracy by faithfully capturing the very blunt way Miyazaki expresses his opinions. In general, he comes across as a passionate yet very curmudgeon-y person that's probably pretty difficult to be around, but I can't say I don't relate to him, especially in the way he can be so self-critical about his own artistry. It's comforting to know that one of the most respected filmmakers in history struggles as much as I do with their own inadequacy. The creative process for me can sometimes feel like this monumental task of overcoming my own insecurity and doubt. I put my whole being into my art, so when it doesn't turn out the way I want to, I can quickly fall into a depressive spiral of self-hatred. It's both reassuring and worrying to know that neither age nor success will alleviate these feelings.
Miyazaki works in a constant cloud of doubt and anxiety.
Oscar Wilde famously said that the artist is the creator of beautiful things. But there have been many times in my life where I questioned my validity as an artist. Miyazaki can at least be comforted by the fact that all his hard work will ultimately culminate into a beautiful final product, into a film worthy of praise. As for me, I struggle to call any of my videos truly beautiful. The work that I put into these videos does not necessarily correlate to their quality, a fact that will never not be completely devastating to admit. And it is in those moments where my efforts feel fruitless, where I spend days of my life making something only to realize that it is utter shit, that I feel like giving up and relinquishing the title of artist that I so foolishly apply to myself. For if I cannot create beautiful things, how could I dare call myself an artist? Well, very easily actually, because the artist is not really the creator of beautiful things. The artist is merely the creator of things, good and bad. I'd argue that it is crucial, that it's necessary for artists to produce ugly things. So I dedicate this video to all the bad artists out there, including myself. This video is for the people who, in their attempts to make something beautiful, have accidentally made something ugly. I want to say to you that you are not bad for creating something bad, that mistakes are a part of the process, that the pain is integral to the learning, and that maybe, just maybe, bad art is, in its own way, kind of good. As cheesy as this may sound, I genuinely believe that ugliness, if looked at from the right lens, can be kind of beautiful.
After the vampire bird sucked blood out of me, he started stabbing me in my ass. Then 3 more vampire birds stabbed me in my ass too. They sucked the blood out of me, killing me. Vampire bad. Vampire bad. Vampire bad!
I am, of course, speaking from a biased perspective. After all, my favorite book of all time, a book that I made a 30-minute long video essay about, a book that, like all great works of literature, has meaningful themes, nuanced characters, and emotional depth, is admittedly kind of bad. As much as I can gush over the book, Super Mutant Magic Academy, like its silly title implies, isn't polished or refined. It is crude in every sense of the word. Artistically, it's extremely sloppy and evident that some pages were scrawled in a slapdash fashion. Even at its best, there's an air of carelessness to the line work that gives the comic a distinct sketchbook-like feel. The book also forgoes the need to have a real plot by adopting an episodic 6-panel gag comic format, which, while not inherently bad, feels less polished than a serialized story. The format also creates this weird sense of tonal whiplash that contributes so much to the way it feels to read this book. Sometimes Magic Academy can have some wonderful bits of social commentary or really touching character interactions or surprisingly effective visual storytelling, but these moments of profundity are almost always downplayed by a silly joke. Jokes that are not always that funny, although I think that is, at least some of the time, intentional. The book, for all its maturity, is incredibly juvenile. Nothing in Magic Academy, from its characters to its art, is polished, but that's part of its appeal. I think the comic would lose a lot of its charm and confessional tone if it wasn't so loose. It is my favorite book partly because it so accurately captures the messy nature of my brain, and that messiness wasn't accidental. It was designed to be a project that, quote, didn't have to look nice or pretty. As an illustrator, Jillian Tamaki's job is all about making images that look nice and pretty. But the great thing about indie comics like Magic Academy is that they're removed from the outcome-driven mindset of commercial artistry. Indie art is unadulterated, and though that might mean it's a little rough around the edges, it also means that in theory, in game theory, it's more authentic and interesting. In a world where the artistic process has been optimized to the point of removing all traces of human imperfection, seeing something so utterly and proudly imperfect and idiosyncratic is kind of endearing. This may sound weird, but I think quality is overrated. The concept of a guilty pleasure implies that watching something that's bad or cheap or even lowbrow is a negative thing, but I don't think that's necessarily true. I think we need a balanced diet of well-produced high art and crude, dare I say, trashy art as well. I think this is especially true in music. I really hate that overly produced, cookie-cutter sounding pop music that has remained so popular for the last 2 decades. Part of the reason why I enjoy vocalists like Neil Cicierega and Gerard Way so much is that they kind of can't sing. Not to say that they both haven't given some remarkable vocal performances, but it's wildly apparent, especially when they perform live, that they are not professionally trained singers. But again, that's part of their charm. Their songs have a distinct character because of their voices, and I don't think they'd be as popular without it. I mean, of course a singer wouldn't be popular without their voice, but I mean, you get what I mean. One thing I like about the way older music was produced was the way it captured the rough edges of a performance. What pop music lacks is that human element. It's not that the music itself is bad or that the singers aren't talented, just that it feels sterile. Part of what made Freddie Mercury such a remarkable vocalist was that he wasn't always perfect.
Baby, just gotta get out, just gotta get right out of here.
Some of my favorite performances from him are when he's clearly struggling to hit a note, if for no other reason than the fact that it reminds me that even gods can make mistakes.
So you think you can love me and leave me to die?
But even when he does hit all of the notes, there's an undeniable human element to his singing that makes his voice truly remarkable to this day.
Nothing really matters to me.
I think my fascination with crude art extends beyond the love of human imperfection, though. I think it's also about novelty. We've all seen good movies, had good meals, and watched good YouTube videos before. Our culture is designed to feed you content that makes you feel good, that keeps the dopamine flowing and keeps you engaged. So something bad, something not algorithmically designed to appeal to your demographic, something kind of weird, is interesting, at least to me. So I have a lot of videos saved in my watch later playlist. I mean, I'm a video essayist, of course I do. And the list, much like the universe, seems to be expanding infinitely. But one video from the playlist that I finally watched recently was a video essay on escaping the feedback loop of social media. I really recommend it. It's a good video. Too good, in fact. It's framed as this intimate, down-to-earth examination of a person's struggles, but the video is so well produced that it actually kind of takes away from that message. The cinematography especially is so beautiful and professional looking that it makes the video as a whole just feel a little bit artificial. And that sounds crazy, right? Like, how can something be so good it's bad? Well, I think it's a matter of consistency and presentation. If you're going to present something as indie and low budget, the production value needs to align with that message and vice versa. Not everything needs a high budget. Sometimes limitations are good. I think this is part of the reason why so many people, including myself, don't really click with Jacob Collier's music despite recognizing his talent. His music is almost too complex. When I listen to it, I find myself thinking, couldn't this be simpler? If you find yourself thinking that, I implore you to watch his live performance of With the Love in My Heart. Not only is the song just downright funky, it's also one of the most energetic live performances I've ever seen. I mean, just look at him bounce around.
I said, do you wanna dance with me? Do you wanna dance? I've been something here tonight. I got the most for your love and the voice so young.
I think one of the greatest artists to have ever lived is Kim Jong-gi. Before his passing in 2022, I considered him to be the greatest living artist. But I've always had a gripe with his art, and it's just the fact that, again, it's too good. His compositions are legitimately too cluttered, and I understand that that is a part of the appeal, but because his work is so detailed, my eyes are really overwhelmed by the images he produced. I understand intellectually the absurd level of skill he had, but I'm just not at the level to really fully enjoy it. To me, the most compelling thing about Kim Jong-gi as an artist wasn't actually his art, but the process involved in creating it. Actually seeing him draw each line with perfect precision without a moment of hesitation reminds you that somehow, a human made this. And in our increasingly artificial culture, it's nice to be reminded of the fact that art is a human activity and that humans are capable of remarkable things. I guess that's the whole point I'm getting at. Crudeness is about humanity and growth. Imperfections can be really beautiful. Now, don't get me wrong, imperfections are still imperfections. I'm not saying that ugliness doesn't exist or that there's no such thing as bad art. There is. Bad art is still bad. There is a sense of humor is not as good as this. The Room is not a good movie, but that doesn't make it any less entertaining. In fact, The Room is good precisely because it is so bafflingly bad that it ought to be celebrated. I think the world is genuinely a better place because bad movies exist. Miss Makima, in this ultra-perfect world you're gonna create, will there still be crappy movies?
Personally, I believe the world would be a better place if bad movies ceased to exist.
I guess I gotta kill you after all then. I want to leave you with one more thing before I go. Back in the... No, not in the 90s. Back in the early 2000s, Rebecca Sugar, well known for her work on Adventure Time and Steven Universe, had an indie comic imprint called Sugar Bukas that she co-founded with her friend, Franz Bukas. In 2008, they published Don't Cry For Me, I'm Already Dead, a comic about two brothers, Jim and Alan, who loved The Simpsons. As the opening narration says, there was nothing either of them loved more than getting together and quoting The Simpsons. Most of the dialogue from the comic is lifted straight from The Simpsons, in fact, including the title, which is given new context about halfway through the story when Alan gets into a car accident. The doctor says that the accident rendered him mute, but miraculously, he's still fully capable of speaking, albeit exclusively in Simpsons quotes. So Jim, the other brother, is left to watch as his brother's health slowly deteriorates while all he can do is do what he's always done with his brother. Quote, The Simpsons. It's a short and effective comic that hooks you with a fun premise and immediately uses the silliness of that premise to stab you in the heart. What's really interesting about the comic, though, is its art style. Rebecca's style went through a massive change once she joined Cartoon Network. Her old style used to be extremely detailed, but being a storyboard artist necessitates simplicity in drawing, and so her style changed out of necessity. But it's not just that her style used to be more detailed, it also used to be uglier. The way they accentuated every wrinkle in the human face left her characters looking off. It's not that their art was bad, just ugly, for lack of a better word. But there's something about its distinctiveness that I really like, especially in context. The way she draws Alan in the hospital really sells that even though he may be physically alive, his brain is not intact. Jim's reaction, the way his face seems to melt from the grief, is effective precisely because it is not glamorous. For grief is not glamorous either. The fact that it is ugly is kind of interesting, especially given how her art would look later. That old art style was a choice, made not because she lacked skill, but because she wanted to communicate something. And that's valuable. That intentionality is the one thing that really distinguishes the human from the AI. Mistakes may be a bug, but bugs are fun, and I'd rather play a buggy game with charm rather than a polished game with no soul. That may be a bad opinion, but hey, bad opinions are valid too. Thanks for watching.